The secret behind a peaceful heart. Have you ever wondered why some people have very little, yet they seem genuinely peaceful? And why some people have money, success, comfort, and everything they ever wanted, yet they still feel empty inside? What if the peace you're searching for isn't something you can buy? What if your heart is searching for something only Allah can give it? Before we continue, I may not have new visuals for every story, so you may see familiar scenes. But the message matters more than the pictures. My sincere intention is to share beneficial knowledge and help bring us closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, using whatever means He has blessed me with. Now think about your own life. Maybe you've achieved something you worked for years to get. You finally bought something you wanted. You reached a goal. You received good news. For a moment, you felt happy. But then after some time, the feeling disappeared, and you started searching for the next thing, the next goal, the next purchase, the next achievement. Why? Because happiness and peace are not exactly the same thing. You can experience happiness because of something that happens around you. But peace is something much deeper, and Allah tells us exactly where the heart finds it. Allah says in the Quran, "Surely in the remembrance of Allah do hearts find rest." Think about those words. Allah doesn't say that the heart finds permanent rest in money. He doesn't say it comes from fame. He doesn't say it comes from having a perfect marriage, a perfect career, or a perfect life. He tells us, in the remembrance of Allah, hearts find rest. Why? Because the human heart was created by Allah, and nothing in creation can completely satisfy a heart that is disconnected from its creator. You can fill your schedule, fill your house, fill your bank account, fill your phone with entertainment, fill your life with people, and still have an emptiness that you cannot explain. Because sometimes what you're missing isn't another thing, it's Allah. Think about someone who is going through a difficult situation. The problem is real. The pain is real. They may not know what tomorrow will bring, but then they make wudu. They stand on their prayer mat. They raise their hands, and they say, "Ya Allah, help me." The situation may not change immediately, but something inside them changes. They remember that their Creator knows what they're going through. They remember that Allah hears their dua. They remember that their life has a purpose. And they remember that this world is not the end. That can give the heart a strength that money cannot purchase. This doesn't mean a believer will never feel sadness. Islam doesn't teach us that having Iman means you will never cry. The prophets themselves experienced grief. The Prophet Muhammad experienced deep sadness. So feeling pain does not mean your faith is weak. Sometimes a believer cries and still has tawakkul. Sometimes they feel afraid and still trust Allah. Sometimes they don't understand what is happening and still say, "Allah knows best." That is where true peace begins. Not when every problem disappears, but when your heart knows where to turn when problems appear. And there is another powerful teaching from the Prophet Muhammad. He compared the person who remembers Allah with the person who does not remember Him to the living and the dead. Think about the meaning. A heart can be physically alive, yet spiritually empty. And another person can be struggling through enormous difficulties, yet their heart is alive because it is connected to Allah. So ask yourself honestly, what has your heart been feeding on? Constant entertainment? Social media? Other people's approval? Money? Relationships? Or the remembrance of Allah? Because whatever you constantly feed your heart will eventually shape it. If you spend hours listening to the world, but only a few minutes listening to the Quran, don't be surprised if the world becomes louder inside your heart than the voice of faith. But here's the beautiful part. You can start again. You don't need a perfect past. You don't need to become a scholar overnight. Start with one sincere prayer, one page of Quran, one moment of dhikr, one sincere dua, one moment where you put your phone down. Look at the sky and remember the one who created it. Because the road back to Allah can begin with something incredibly small. And perhaps the peace you've been searching for has been waiting for you in the place you've been neglecting the most, your relationship with Allah. But there is one more important question. If remembering Allah brings peace to the heart, why do some believers still struggle with anxiety, sadness, and fear? The answer is deeper than you might think. Let's continue. If remembering Allah brings peace to the heart, why do believers still experience sadness, anxiety, fear, and difficult moments? Because having faith does not mean becoming a person without emotions. It means learning where to take those emotions. When you're afraid, take your fear to Allah. When you're confused, take your confusion to Allah. When you're heartbroken, take your broken heart to Allah. When you don't know what to do, make istikhara, make dua, and ask Allah for guidance. You don't have to pretend that everything is fine. You can tell Allah exactly how you feel. The Prophet Yaqub alayhi salam experienced such deep grief that he wept over the loss of his son Yusuf alayhi salam. Yet he turned to Allah. He said that he only complained of his suffering and grief to Allah. This is something beautiful to understand. A peaceful heart is not necessarily a heart that never hurts. It is a heart that knows where to go when it hurts. And sometimes we make another mistake. We think peace means Allah must remove every problem from our lives. But sometimes Allah gives you peace while the problem is still there. The debt may still exist. The situation at work may still be difficult. The relationship may still be complicated. The future may still be uncertain. But your heart begins saying, Allah knows. Allah sees me. Allah is enough for me. That changes everything. Allah tells us, and whoever relies upon Allah, then He is sufficient for him. This is tawakkul. It doesn't mean sitting back and doing nothing. You take the means. You work. You seek help. You make decisions. You try your best. And then you leave the outcome to Allah, because you were never created to control everything. You were created to worship the one who controls everything. And maybe that's why your heart becomes exhausted when you try to control what was never in your hands. You cannot control what people think about you. You cannot control tomorrow. You cannot control whether everyone will love you. You cannot control every outcome. But you can control where you place your trust. And when you place that trust in Allah, something begins to change. You stop asking, how will everything work out? And you start saying, Allah will take care of what I cannot. You stop needing to understand every part of the journey, and you start trusting the one who knows the entire journey. So if your heart feels heavy today, don't immediately assume that Allah has abandoned you. Maybe this is the moment to return to Him. Make wudu, pray 2 rak'ahs. Open the Quran, make a dhikr, raise your hands, and speak to Allah. Even if all you can say is, Ya Allah, I need you. That is enough to begin, because the world can give you comfort. But only Allah can give your heart the kind of peace it was created to seek. And remember, you don't need a perfect life to have a peaceful heart. You need a heart that knows its Creator. A heart that returns to Allah when it falls. A heart that thanks Him when life is good. A heart that trusts Him when life becomes difficult. And a heart that never forgets. This world is temporary. One day the things that made us anxious will no longer matter. The money will remain behind. The opinions of people will disappear. The problems will end. And what will remain is our meeting with Allah. So prepare your heart now, not by chasing a perfect life, but by building a strong relationship with the one who created your life. May Allah give us hearts that remember Him, tongues that thank Him, souls that trust Him, and faith that remains strong during both ease and hardship. May He remove the heaviness from every heart that is struggling today. May He replace fear with tawakkul, sadness with hope, and loneliness with closeness to Him. And may He grant us the greatest peace of all, the peace of meeting Him while He is pleased with us. Amen. If your heart has been heavy lately, take this as your reminder. You don't have to carry everything alone. Turn to Allah. He already knows what your heart cannot explain.